little chat, shall we? I made a video, a stitch, in response to someone saying that there's a male loneliness epidemic happening right now. My suggestion was to smile more, because I hear that that's helpful. And was that a cheap shot? It was. I'll own that. Could I have been the bigger person in that moment? Yes, absolutely. But if God wanted me to be the bigger person, she would have made me taller. And I'm 60 inches. No more, no less. And yes, I say inches because that is my preferred unit of measurement. But let me expand a little bit more for all of those men that are super angry in my comments, which is this. A society that is created and run by men is not beneficial to you. It's not beneficial to me or to anyone. And here's why. As a mother raising boys, I quickly realized that from a very, very young age, the narrative that we push as a society is for boys to be men, to grow up and be men. But no one actually says what being a man is. They just say what being a man isn't, which is being a woman, exhibiting feminine qualities and behaviors. And what are those qualities and behaviors? Empathy, compassion, love, human connection in the form of expressing and communicating your feelings. All of those things are bad. All of those things are negative. Any emotion that is outside of happiness, anger, or horniness, you're gay. You're a pussy. The worst you can be. So then these boys grow up and become men, and they look around and realize, wow, I don't actually have a meaningful connection with anyone because I never knew how. Do we see the correlation here? Which is probably why the majority of mass shooters are men, or why the rates are through the roof for men, and why men in general grow up to not respect women. They're sexually attracted to women, but they don't actually respect women. Why? Because they were raised with this idea that being a woman, exhibiting any sort of feminine qualities, was the absolute worst negative thing that you could be. Very interesting. So I think personally that the narrative needs to change. And that starts with all of us, especially if you're raising boys, because what we've been doing is clearly dangerous and damaging. Just food for thought.
Now, I know to a lot of folks that didn't want to hear what she had to say. That went in one ear and right out the other. So if you're one of those people that was listening to her and just did not want to hear what she had to say, so all you heard was Charlie Brown's teacher, right? Wah, 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 wah. Be intellectually honest with yourself for a minute. Go back and listen to it again. Get that shit out of your head and actually absorb the words she's saying. Because she's right. Bill Burr did a whole bit on this, right? Bill Burr did a bit. He's slightly older than I am, right? And I think by 6 or 7 years, he's older than I am. And he did a bit about this, talking about how the only feelings men are allowed to feel are angry and happiness. Everything else men actually feel: melancholy, feeling blue, feeling bliss, feeling this, feeling that. We feel all of that, but we're only allowed to be angry or happy. Why? Because as Bill Burr says in his bit, all of those other feelings, if you're a man and you talk about all of those other feelings, you're considered gay. What are you, gay? And for the longest time, being called gay was the insult, right? I'm Gen X, right? It's 70s and 80s and even into the fucking 90s, right? Or throughout the 90s. If you talked about your feelings as a man, hey, well, what are you, fig? It was dead wrong to do, but it was the way it was drilled into our heads. And now people like myself, who are of that generation that had that shit drilled into their head, we have to be really conscious about the way we're talking talking to and raising our sons. I have a 13-year-old son who I have these conversations with, and it's the conversations that nobody ever had with folks like us, right? It's not only it's okay to have feelings, it's okay to express your feelings, and it's okay to discuss your feelings with he's got a friend named Ben, right? We're always talking to him about, you and Ben talk about this, you and Ben talk about this. You know you can compliment your friend Ben. You know you can say, hey man, I know you're having a rough day, and put your arm around Ben. And Ben can do the same to you. It's okay. It's not only those conversations, but it's the other conversations that we never had, like one of the things that I am drilling into his head week in and week out is First and foremost, no means no. Secondly, if I ever hear of you forcing yourself on a woman, you better hope the fucking cops get to you before I do. And if you're at a party, which you're going to start going to functions, right? You're going to start going to parties. You're in junior high now. If you go to a function, you go to a party, you go to something like an event with a bunch of kids, and you see some other guy in your class getting handsy and forcing himself on a girl that's really uncomfortable, you better fucking step in. You better step in and go, that's not happening here, man. You are not doing that in front of me. And ask that young lady if she needs help. Get on the phone and call us. We'll come pick all of you up to get to dissolve the situation. Dissolve to it's the wrong word. Diffuse the situation. My apologies. Dissolve the situation. Anyway, you understand what I'm saying. We need to work extra hard raising our children to not be the way we were, while also raising our children to be the way we were, right? We have to raise our children to have a decent work ethic and to be a productive member of society, and yada 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 yada. But we also need to raise them to not think the way we did. You know, to not think that women are inferior and gay people are inferior and men can't have feelings and all of that other bullshit that was drilled into our heads. I look back at my high school years and the number of times I called somebody gay or fag in a derogatory way, and now realize that one of my best friends in high school was gay. I know it now. I didn't know it then. And to think what those words must have meant to him, what those expressions must have meant to him, to think about how much of a better human being he is than I, that he knew I was insulting people for being like he secretly was, and he never held it against me. All these years later, he'll still text me and he'll go, hey man, me and my husband are coming up to Chicago. What do you recommend for this? What do you recommend for that? You know what I mean? It's just, he's a better person than I am. And we need to raise our sons to be better. We need to raise our daughters great too, but we really need to make sure that we break this shit within the male portion of our species.